So far, it has been around 9 years. I started this project in June 2015, and I'm still freaking working on it. And what do I have to show? Nothing. You have a puzzle, a huge puzzle for background and a story, and you can have an item in one game, but you don't know how to use it. But you can take it to another game and have some NPC can recognize that item and open a quest and stuff like that. But all of this fluff, which Cody stated, um, it deals with unique characters that the engine understand and the campaign understand, where you can move them from one game to another. They live in the player universal profile. Each game I have, whenever I run any game, you'll see a page like this where you can select these profiles. Unfortunately, the layer system is complicated because it's mixed between the old system and the new system. The new system, it accepts the object as it is. I tell this is an R class, it's a weapon, and just deal with it as if it was a weapon. So actually, what you see here is one entity, one base, and it holds a turret. Whenever I draw the entity, it draw all the entities inside it. And I tell it draw these turrets. Anyway, I wanted to talk about why this doesn't work. The engine. First of all, it's a 2D game engine that's not open source. I'm the only one who's working on it. Isn't that the 2024 engine showcase video? I'm sure I uploaded this before. Let me check. Fine, let me upload it. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مرحبا بكم مجددا. Welcome back to something. I wanted to make this video since forever and I don't know how to start, so I decided to just click record, click, and start. I want to make a summary about my freaking work, my game engine, and what kind of things have I done so far. So far, it has been around 9 years. I started this project in June 2015, and I'm still freaking working on it. And what do I have to show? Nothing. Well, not nothing, but no product. No Steam product, no website product. I wasted a lot of time trying to maintain a blog website, and the database crashed twice, and I lost all the data twice. And when I closed it, I lost some of the data as well, and it didn't recover correctly. I made a temporary website and I put it there, and I forgot about it since then. And it cost me a lot of money as well. So there's a lot of things I tried to do, and I half-assed it, and it didn't work out. But anyway, I wanted to talk about why this doesn't work. The engine. First of all, it's a 2D game engine that's not open source. I'm the only one who's working on it, and I made attempts to make scalable games in 2003 2004 when I was in my first year in the college in KFUBM, and I wasn't skillful enough. I didn't know how to manage the data and how to program and design the damn thing, even though I was enlisted as a software engineer. But long story short, busy with the college, trying to get and integrate in society, which I really, really bad at it, and trying to work on my own big ideas and big games. It didn't work. I spent a lot of time making a game called Death Thunder, and it didn't see the light at all. Even my brothers didn't test it. Um, I made Castle 2, which is I consider it the most successful game I ever made. Yet I made Far Away. I made a lot of games, but anyway, I always have a dream to connect my games, just like how a lot of programmers actually try to do the same thing and they successfully done it, but they are not as successful as I expected. Like we're right, made a lot of SimCity games and they are connected in a way or another. There are games that you can race in your towns. There are games that you can play as a helicopter, sim helicopter in your own towns. There are games that connected to the Sims, but I thought such things will be much more successful. But anyway, there are other RPG games that you can move your characters, like the SSI Golden Box D&D series, like Mass Effect. But I want more. I want even more. I want to have cross puzzle. Like you have a huge puzzle for background and a story, and you can have an item in one game, but you don't know how to use it. But you can take it to another game, and have some NPC can recognize that item and open a quest and stuff like that. But all of this fluff won't work if you don't have a strong base for your own games. And this is the like how to put it. I want to make unique games, and I feel I can do it if I can make the engine that support all the ideas I want, without focusing on things, the engine itself, on things that I don't care about, which is like 3D, for example. I don't care about 3D at all. Zero 3D. I don't care. Anyway, so that was a long tangent. Sorry about that. Game engine. I have game engine, the game project, and editor. The game engine is the game engine. It's take the data from the files and build the principles, the rules, the scripts based on these codes. And it holds the most common things that I need to use. The game project can treat the game project itself use the engine, of course, to run the game. For example, Castle 2 for now. I'm doing the test is on. You will see more about Castle 2 in a second. William Ordeal, which is a visual novel game that have transitions, dialogues, conversations, characters, portraits, side menus. An arcade game that supports multiplayers, up to 4 players, and multiple joysticks and keyboard and mouse and a crab and weapons and shops. And I made only one game. This project didn't last long. I was testing the control system and joysticks mostly, and the HUD, the menu components, the stuff. So the idea is like Wario games, but competition for 4 players, or Mario Party or whatever, where you play different mini games, or even cooperation or whatever. But anyway, as I said, each project have its own game. It's just the game itself, and it's used the engine, but it required the project itself. And there were many tests for the engine, and I had problems with everything. Every aspect of the engine I programmed, I faced billions of problems. From zooming, from items, from bags, from weapons, from control, from the character, resolution, you name it. And the third part of the engine is the map editor. The map editor, or the map simulator, or the editor, or whatever. I can change the name how many times I want, I don't care. is actually a huge thing. It's the one who responsible to make this the engine side editing. It doesn't only at first Map Simulator 1 or Map Editor 1 was only responsible on making maps, not even maps for the games, but maps. And part of the coding for the maps, like the characters and items and everything, were responsibility on the game project itself. It weren't the responsibility on the editor. I tried to make somehow the maps work on all the projects for the engine, and the workload for configure each map for each game was way too much. I didn't like it. That was before I make the game file ID, actually, before I made the whole thing data driven. But anyway, I'm sorry if I'm overloading you with keywords and stuff, but I'm trying to describe how my freaking work works. Work over 9 years, and it's not easy to make it fun and exciting and short and clear. So what does the map editor do? It has three responsibilities so far. First, it create and edit the game file or GF, which hold all the data that the game required. The game file is taken by the game project and passed to the engine, and it create all the principles. And we will see that in a little bit of detail soon. The second responsibility is dealing with maps and editing the maps from its name. The third responsibility is to deal with campaign. Campaigns are like DLCs and everything that related to the player itself. So it deals with the quests, for example. It deals with dialogues. It deals with conversations. It deals with when I say conversations, like any video game conversation, like conversations in Mass Effect or in Elder Scroll games, where you have choices and stuff. You create your own conversation data, the abstract one, and the game project create the HUD and how it's look with the cooperation with the engine and the data that created from the campaign itself, which hold this data. It deals with unique characters that the engine understand and the campaign understand, where you can move them from one game to another. They live in the player universal profile. Each game I have, whenever I run any game, you'll see a page like this where you can select these profiles, and these profiles you need to create them once, and hopefully they will work on all the games. And the game, I always have float issues. There's some string in the non-base64 character. I don't know how to fix that. It seems the float point or something. But anyway, there are errors, and I pray to God that I will fix all of them when I put them on the test, because nobody like to lose his own save data. This profile is not only responsible on the save inside the game, but responsible on saving all your freaking data for all the freaking games that made by my own engine. So if they get corrupted, hopefully you will lose only the part of the game itself, not the part of the universal thing. But hopefully it will never corrupt. So this thing need a lot of work and test, and I pray to God I won't screw myself with this freaking idea. And that's why I made some mechanism to enter the game as a guest. So we don't need to create a new one, even though this one created a temporary one. But anyway. And you can edit it, and you have, I don't show the achievement here because I don't have, I didn't throw them or whatever, but it should have avatars, and it should have achievements, and it could be universal quest. All of this is the cream over the crap after we finish a good game first. So back to the map editor or map simulator. We can create a new game file, or we can open the last one we were working on, or we can edit the last one. When we open the last one, it will just allow us to immediately access the maps. But if we edit the last game file, we will see this page, which will allow us to take a look on the game file itself, and it has all these categories. The first category are the main data for the game file, including the game name, which cannot be changed. Only when you create it, you can have it. The version, I never used it yet. Oh boy. A lot of, data. Some of them are placeholder, and I might change them later on. This one should be show the statistics, everything you have. But the first few versions it was working, and then I neglected. Then I just remove it. I don't show anything. Universal tags. This one was like a placeholder and never used it. I don't think even it's saved in the file. Name key. This can be used only when you have games that can work with other games, that you have to have them both running in the same time and show whatever. So you can add languages, which will reconfigure the dialogue system. I have a system called dialogue system. Every text represented in the game use a dialogue. Why? Because dialogue have the localization of all the languages that's supported by the game itself. So if the game supports English, Arabic, and Chinese, each dialogue should have these 3 fields, and each field I can organize them in Excel file, and then I can import them and export them from the game. I should make my own Excel component like .com or something inside the editor to make it easier for me, or connect it to the Google Drive. Here we can add the assets, including the images. We can show the viewer. For example, here in Castle 2, we have the GUI for the menus. We can zoom out a little bit. So here's the avatars. This is a temporary image. We have portraits, we have weapons. So all the turrets, for example, in here. So this is where you put the assets that you use to define everything. Musics and sounds. In William Ordeal, we have both of these. Factions, like how do you categorize the units in the game? GUI name is a system to replace this. GUI name is something I made up to make it easier to tell the engine whenever I make a menu where's the location of the buttons. So instead of opening the editor and checking the numbers, which is the old way, and every time I draw the menu I put the 4 numbers, I use the name. So I make up a name and call it Earth, and that's it. It exactly know where's the resource location in the atlas. And I can add different images in here and make up different GUI names for them. So every time I want the, for example, one of the buttons, I can even search in here, like say button. And we get all the buttons in here that I created for the game engine. Sorry, for the game data. The game file belong to the game project. This is the game project. This is Castle 2 data, for example. So we have the buttons here and the buttons highlight. We will see them soon. Here we have miscellaneous data, for example, what's called the default control, what's called the keys for the scripts for the bullets, like for example explosion or precise, accessory names, which menu can I control by the controller system. So the attributes, what they called. Here we implement the talkers, which is the characters that show in the cutscenes, and these are obviously placeholders. This is an old image I made for in 2004 or something for the Thunder. I just talked about the game, so I just copy and pasted here. So these characters can be used in the conversation system. Here we define the conversation types, how many speakers, the default location of the speakers, blah blah blah, the choices, how many number of choices, if there's a choices, is there a location for the choices, just to make navigating and creating new conversations easier in the editor. And here is my best friend, the particle manager. Here we can create different particle managers that control the effects. And these are not entities, they are just drawn as effects on the screen. Anyway, this is only one page, which is general data for the game file. The other ones, we have the R classes, which are blueprints for the main entities in the game, which are characters, objects, and weapons. Characters are things that the player control directly by using the control system. So for example, in here we have the characters. We have the castle, because everything you play in the castle 2, you're actually controlling the castle in the map. If the castle is destroyed or unselected or whatever, then you cannot do anything in the game, including building, creating skills, controlling turrets. So here I made a few units for testing. For example, the hands. I created the hand to test the rotation in the beginning of the year of 2023, which is the last year. I made a lot of tests for rotations. Here are a few videos that I made for testing rotations and how entities can hold each other, which I will describe soon. But one of the thing is, this gave me nightmare. There's a lot of issues when you rotate a freaking unit in the engine. Collisions and hitboxes are rectangles. And when you rotate, you cannot just rotate rectangle. You cannot just say, hey, make the freaking collision rotate as well. You cannot even draw a rotated rectangle. You need, when you deal with XNA or monogame in C#, you need to do the calculation freaking manually. And it took me I believe more than a month to figure out how to do that. Then I figured out there's actually a famous equation. I forgot its name, and I almost got it from scratch, but I just used the negative sign with the sign instead of positive, and all the calculations wrong. But after all the work, I finally got it right. But it had tons of issues. But every time I try to rotate something, like rotating the turrets or rotating the what do you call it? The boxes for collision or damage or whatever, or for the wall, I use the same function in a way or another. So back to the map editor. As we said, we were talking about creatures and rotations. So this is the page that you control creatures, weapons, and objects. And objects are almost everything in a castle too. All the bases, all the resources, all the unique buildings. Like, let's see some of the ore, resources ore. Rock, iron, sand ore. So you can see here, for example, the rock ore have more than one look, which mean a side. I created a system that you can have different shapes for each one of these entities. So you can define them in here and the location in the file. And here you can put the default script for this entity. So if we select a base, it have a different script for the ore. And here you can add the collisions, the 3 types of collisions. A collision with a wall, a collision with other entities. Sorry, a collision with the walls, a collision with bullets, that when you get hit with a bullet, and a collision to damage the enemies. Like the enemies in Super Mario, when they touch you, they have a damage collision box. This is where they damage you with touch. I have it in data, but I never used it, I never implemented. It should be connected to the attack system, but I haven't played with it yet. Other than that, my last addition is making a fixed blueprint for the entities. Oh, sorry, this is the tool page. The problem with the system like this one, every time I want to use the editor or the game and create a new entity from the blueprint, I need to put the new specifications again and again and again. For example, I want to put enemies with different health points. I want to put enemies with different experience and skills. I want to put enemies with bags and items in their bags. Every time I want to put something with more specifications, including even scripts or different skill sets, I need to set that manually. Later on, to fix that, while I was working on creating Castle 2 that I'm working on still today, I made this page. I made the game engine have the ability to memorize a save set of these entities. For example, if we need to make an AI that create enemies on a certain level, he can just call it, hey, create a light tank. And instead of telling it, this light tank have this turret, and it have this sub-equipment, and it have this utility, and it have this certain amount of health, and this certain amount of speed, and this certain... It just say, create a unit from this list, called light tank 1. And it would just reload all configuration into it. You don't know how much time this freaking tool has saved me while I was testing the AI. The third category that I was working on, the third category that you can use in here and edit is the animation. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of beautiful animations to show you, but this is like the most this is the maybe the turret for the missile. Maybe this one is no. I don't know. Oh yeah, this is the weapon and there's the pace. The missile is tricky because I wanted to have a missile coming up from it. Let's okay. So this is the missile silo, and when it get ready, the rocket come down, as you can see, and it became in a different layer. It's a trick. It's a freaking trick. It took me like 2 days because I refigure all the bases and all the turrets and add more data to make this trick work. Anyway, and this is the point of making this silly game engine, because it utilized the engine itself and the data it have to make these things. So this is what's called ready. When you select the turret, it can have an animation like this one. The lights get on and off. And you have the animation of the normal machine gun turret. And you have an outline shader here. That's why you see it's... So yeah, animations. One reason that I made the huge step or the big step and refactor the whole infrastructure for the stupid engine and made it from engine 3 to engine 4 is before I before all of this these pages, the engine looked really rough on the edges, and each entity as a creature or object or weapon is separate class, because I tried my best to use only interfaces to make the differences between how the creatures behave than the objects than the weapon, and it made a huge mess. The I don't know how to say that. I studied software engineer and computer engineer, sorry, computer science. Actually, I took some computer engineering classes as well in both universities. And they always give you advice that seems work in a very specific situation. Use interface, don't use inheritance. This might work in some websites code or whatever, but it's not always working for everything, because they are not rules set on stone. It just it made a havoc to my code in game engine 3 and 2, and I decided to clear up the whole mess, and I'm really grateful that I spent a year to do that. What I did, I made one core class called R class, and it have features from the three of them. But whenever you go to the game project itself, by default, the engine provide surfaces for what expected from each subclass. For example, weapons and objects are not supposed to be controlled through the control system. So the engine won't provide you the functions to make the keyboard go to weapons or objects. It only goes to creatures. This is one example. And it saved a lot of effort, because in the old system, each type of entity, either if it was an accessory, here's the list, a creature, a weapon, an object, a token, an item, each one of them have a different subclass of animation. Actually, no, each one of them have a new class for animation, sorry. With the huge refactor, I made one frickin' animation class that all of them support. And I gave it the interface eye animation as well, because some of them doesn't have animation actually, like the items, but anyway. No, not the items. Some of them, maybe the bags or something. Sometimes I need to use the interface. I forgot. Backgrounds. Backgrounds doesn't have animation, but it support the eye animation background. Eye animation interface, sorry. So anyway, it made my life easier. Now all the animations work on the same way, and it saved a lot of kerfuffle. So here we can see we can create animation, including to particle manager, which is the guy that make particle animations. These are ones that I didn't draw, that's why they look beautiful. If I draw them, they won't look like this. And this is a system that I worked on to make it easier for me to make effects, including the depth effects. One thing that the particle manager helped me is to test my AI logic. Whenever I create AI and I start dealing with the logic and testing, the particle system helped me a lot to pinpoint what's the AI thinking. For example, in here it detect the threats, and it point out where is the position that rough to walk on, where's the position that he should walk on, and where's the position that's inaccessible. So if it is inaccessible, the fire will not be animated. If the place is good to walk on, to attack in the safe position, he should be in here. In Game Engine 1 and 2, it was really difficult to implement death, because the way how I implement death is whenever the character HP, for example, go to 0, this is a one way to implement death. It put the character into a state, and that state, using the old control state system, oh boy, the thing that I wanted to delete for a very long time, and I deleted in 2003, one of the biggest achievements I ever did. Anyway, it turned it into a state of death to play that animation, and when it's done, it returned to a different state where it set the character clear to clean up. So the update will take the entity and delete it if it want to be deleted, because some of the games, the dead characters stay there so they can be revivable. Anyway, the particle system made it way much easier to do death. For example, in a game that you don't want characters to stay in the map, after they die they just disappear, but it creates an animated particle for the death itself in the position. So actually the unit has disappeared already. You see the color is different a little bit as well. It already got deleted, it's already got cleared from the map, but in its place the particle system created two particles, one for the body and one for the turret. So if the tank have a different turret, it will create particles suitable for each one, because each entity, the body and the turret, has created its own death particle, and it plays animation. So you see it disappear. So here you see the body actually have one frame less than the turret. So this system made death animation way much easier to deal with. Not only that, I can create different particles for more fun. For example, I can add an explosion. So instead of having the entities only get destroyed, you can add explosions. Or even more explosions. A little bit more. I mean, why not? Just tell the stupid particle manager, create 1000 particle for 1000 different explosion type, and have a random animation, either this or this or this, and make a delay between each particle by like half second or something, and or you can create. I made a fun system to play with to create different particle system. So this is only one code that generate or made the engine generate all these particles by using my script system. I mean, why do you make it short for explosions? You can do different things, like all the particles that's in the system. Oh, that's a different test. Anyway, back to the map editor, or to map simulator, or the GF editing. The one of the big parts is the equipment slots. Here we can add equipment slots for any R class. For example, I always use this example. What if you have a Jeep, a car, that have different number of seats that accept certain types of humanoids or animals or whatever? So can a soldier sit on the back and shoot? Can a soldier drive? Can a doctor get inside the Jeep? Can a giant get inside the Jeep? So the system is designed to give entities slots to tell the engine this guy or this slot can accept this type. So what we need is two things: to give every entity something called accessory type. Is this a machine gun? Is this a cannon? Is this a missile? Is this a heavy laser? Is this a soldier? Is this a humanoid? And whenever we deal with the entities, we can give them slots with these tabs. So we say this is a base. It has a main turret slots and can accept this kind of turrets. This is a seed that can accept humanoids who's the size of medium. So you define the types and you define the location name, but it doesn't define how it's look like and where's the position. It only defined this is a slot, its name is this, and it accept this. In the animation section, we can edit the layers, the animation layers. Well, it's not only the animation layers, even if it is fixed and it doesn't animate, it have layers as well, different layers. So for each layer, for each animation, and when it is on default, doesn't play animation, we can add different, what I call animation layer slot. The layer slots or animation layer slots decide how does it look like, which side does it look like, and where is location. Unfortunately, I cannot show the result on the viewer yet. It shows only 2 layers in here, but I haven't maintained the code for a long time, so it might crash if I try. For example, if we have in Castle 2, we have how many of these? 16, 24? I don't know, maybe 30 or whatever. 8 and 8. 16, yeah. 16 different kinds of bases, and each base accept different types of turrets. We don't have a lot of turrets yet, but hopefully in the future. For each side, we have different sides. We have 2 to 1, like the missile. Let me make it build instantly. And we have the 1 1 and 2 2. So the same base, the same type of base, like the rock base, can have different turrets, and each turret is drawn in the center. And it's separate because in code I can give the weapon itself, the turret, its own info, like the angle and stuff. But I can make conditions as well. So unfortunately, the layer system is complicated because it's mixed between the old system and the new system. The new system, it accepts the object as it is. I tell this is an R class, it's a weapon, and just deal with it as if it was a weapon. So actually, what you see here, it's one entity, one base, and it holds a turret. Whenever I draw the entity, it draw all the entities inside it. And I tell it draw this turret as it is. So when I fire the turret, it play the animation of the fire turret. The base doesn't know what the turret is do. I can make it know what it does do by making this selection. So when I say this turret is using the arc animation, it's used the arc data. When I create the arc that it's holding with animation and everything, it will give the responsibility to the equip. If it's not, I need to reconfigure it using the forums of the accessory itself. It's complicated, I don't want to describe it more, but I wish if this thing is not as complicated and workload heavy as this. Whenever I need to make an entity and make different animation, can have different look. For example, imagine this project was made in 2016 or 17. I was working on Walker, a platformer action game, and the animation here, it have the character and his hands, because his hands can get injured, he can have armor with different look. I was setting all of this, so actually this animation have the body itself separated here, where he doesn't have the idle animation, he have his own hand, but when he walks he have different hands. So he doesn't have the hands in the walk animation because He can hold different kinds of weapons. It can be one-handed, two-handed. I don't think there is some hotkeys to change the zoom to make it look better, but I don't think the source code will work anymore because a lot of changes has been done. Anyway, this is before this is 2017 work, so I don't want to even attempt to open the project. You can give Walker different weapons and you can change them, like melee and range two hand. For now, it's only have two hand, and when you walk, he have different animation because the hands are drawn differently because he's holding two-handed weapons, and you can see the weapons. I was testing the tilt, the angle, and the size. I called it the zoom for the equipped on the slots. So actually, this is the old system where each frame of the animation I give different data. I save them for each slot, and that's a lot of freaking work to make it look nice and whatever. I changed a lot. I made a new system, but I kept the old system, and we can shoot. I made it. I was testing the sound as well, and I can have different attacks, and depends on the state of the character. Like if he's moving and use second weapon, second attack, we can make the attack behavior differently as well. So instead of shooting 3 bullets, it shoot 2, one up and one down. It's the same attack. So what I'm going to say, the slot system is complicated and it can do a lot of things. It can make the characters jump with the weapon and attack if you program it correctly. It saves the data. But it's a lot of load of work, a lot of work to make any simple thing. And when I try to refactor it and add options to make each entity have its own state, for example, if it shoot, it's a responsibility on the weapon, not the holder. It became easier, but still sometimes you want to use fixed things. So yeah, I add options. And there's a lot of freaking options in here. So the animated layers, the animated slot layers, I call them. The slot layers and equipment layers are connected. You make something equip things, like for example in 507, you have the materia. It have equipment slots for materia types, and they are connected, but they don't show in the fight. So you only need to add equipment slots, but you don't need to add the layer slots. The next thing, which we've seen already, is the attack system, which is not complete yet. There's a lot of work I need to do, because attack is the declaration of attack. It doesn't have to be creating bullets and objects. It can be even targeting attack. For example, in turn-based RPGs, when you attack a Pokemon or you attack the enemy, you declare an attack, but it doesn't create fires. So this type of attack that doesn't deal with bullets is not finished yet. Again, it defined the bullets and it defined the attack, and the attack itself, it can have different number of bullets. For example, the mammoth cannon in fire animation, it have 2 fire cannons. The attack system is connected, unfortunately, because actually this is the best, I believe, to the animation system. What does that mean? Whenever you attack, it must occur in a frame of animation. So each animation you create, you can add fire points on the frames, and it only works for the art classes. You cannot make particle systems shoot. You cannot make item shoot. You cannot make a toker shoot. It must be one of the art class. For example, if we have a minigun and we have the fire one animation, each frame in here we can add a fire point for the machine gun. It heat up first, so it doesn't fire. But when it's hot enough, when it rotates enough, it will start playing Fire 2. In Fire 2, it has the possibility to fire bullet on frame 2, frame 3, frame 0 doesn't shoot. Frame 1 it shoots. You see this one? This is the checkbox to say we have a fire attack and it is this position. And in the game, it calculated the angle of the fire point, rotated with the angle of the entity itself, and every angle of every holder recursively. Because we can make a base that have a turret, that have a subturret, that have a subturret forever. And whenever I call, hey, use Fire 2 with Attack 2, as long as the animation is working, depends on the game project again and the control system, it will keep firing. And that's why we have a machine gun in here. So the game project is the one who is responsible how to use these utilities to make different attacks. Let me show you an example for entities holding entities. Here in the last year and the first few months, I was testing the rotation, and as you can see, this entity is consisted of a handler and the hand have two types, one that can shoot and one can hold 5 different hands. And in the control, I gave the control to rotate the entities. So whenever the entity rotate, it rotate everything that it holds, and I can make a recursive attack where it asks all the entities it holds to use a specific attack. So if the entities, different turrets have, all of them have attack called attack 1, and I tell the entity to make a recursive call to use attack 1 to all the turrets will shoot. And I can make specifications. No, use attack 2. No, use whatever. So the engine finally, just the last year, have the ability to make a recursive call to all the equipment. This was not possible in 2022. From 2015 till 2022, I always dreamt to do this. Only the last year, in February, I finally accomplished the stupid thing to have a collision that rotate, to have the angle rotate, to have the attack rotate. I'm blessed. I have done a lot. You might say, but this is 101. You can play Little Big Planet on PlayStation 2 and it have the same thing. This is my code. I don't care. I read it. The last three categories. Oh boy, I don't want to really talk in specific about them. The control system is made to support hotkeys and to support profiles, to save control schemes and load them and connect them to the profile. So each profile have its own list of control profiles. So every time I define which character can be controlled and what hotkeys apply to them, I connect each hotkey either from a joystick or the mouse. Actually, not the mouse. The mouse, unfortunately, is not part of the system because it's part of the game engine system. Unfortunately, you cannot map the mouse buttons to these. Unfortunately, I was planning to do that, but just the joystick and keyboard, and if it is holding or you just press the button or just the key up the button. And each one of them, for example, if we have the castle or the menu, the conversation, the HUD. For example, in the menu, when I press escape, it fires a code called HUD MC close. And this one is programmed in the INI file and the game project. What does it do? So it actually exit the menu. So if you open the, if you try to build and place a building and then press escape, it cancels the building. If you press escape again, it close the building menu. If you press escape again, it show the side menu and pause the game. So stuff like that. Same with the castle. If you have the creatures and you have the for example, the hand, I showed you the video here. Here's the control for the hand, for rotation, for the moving, for the fire, all of it in here. F for attack. The and here I can make states for the character. Is he holding open? Is he on the ground? Is he floating? Is he flying? Is he jumping? And jump need more than one state. If you're holding the jump, and if it's then the jump, then he float. So all of these states, like in the platform game, you need to use the system, and you need to define the name of the whole state and the name of the action. For example, if you're holding jump, you might be floating and you might be jumping, or you might initializing the jump. So if you're attacking, this is one action. But are you on the air? Are you on the ground? Are you on a car? So these you can define a combination of these actions and connect them to a script. It was a very, very, very complicated system in the game engine 2 and the map simulator 2. This is the refactor version, and I'm really, really, really grateful that I done that, because before you need to define all the branches, no matter what, all the equipments, all the it need a lot of data to declare what the character do, and most of them are null, just or the normal behavior. Here, you only declare what is specific. You only declare on the top. If this happened, do that. I request that or do that. So this is the control system. The item system, another system that needs a lot of polish. I didn't polish it yet. I don't even use it in the Castle 2 so far. But as you saw before in Walker and different games, you can define items and you can define them. Are they takeable within action buttons? Depends on the category itself. Or they just passively taken when you touch them and who's taking them. So it depends on the category here. You can define categories in the general data in the game file, and the engine in the code, unfortunately, is the one responsible on these two default ones, the active and passive. But if you want to make a different category, you need to program it in the game project, and it's a little bit messy. I need to refactor the whole thing, but it's working for now. It have two different types of items with a shape that have a look that can. This is an old video I posted on Twitter. So items can be placed on the map and can have a shape. It must have a shape if you want to place it on the map. And if it has a shape, it can be placed in the grid. And if it doesn't have a shape, it can be placed in the list. So we can make a game like old RPG, Final Fantasy, where the potions and the stuff stuck in the list, and the game showed them in a list. Or it can be placed like Diablo, and it showed in the grid. Unfortunately, because I'm using GDI Plus, even though it's Visual Basic, the new Visual Basic, GDI Plus with window forms, the draw, it's flicker a lot, and I try minimize it as much as possible. Forget it if you want to rotate and do stuff like that. Forget it. It will screw up big time. And yeah, I was testing stacks and adding and removing items from the list to the grid and the grid to the list, because items can be placed in a list even if they have a shape. So if you have like an NBC, a shopkeeper that have items, it doesn't have to be on the grid. You can have a list, but when you buy the item, it add to your bag that have a grid. So this, as I said, the refactor, the huge refactor I done was in 2022. And the beginning of 2023, I start working on Castle Free. So I have a lot of tweets in 2022 that talk about stuff that I done while refactoring the engine. Well, it seems not that a lot. Oh well. So yeah, this is a quick, only 1 hour. Show what the game file editing do. I didn't show you the tools I have. I didn't show you the details and some of the stuff. I didn't talk about skills and attributes, but we have it's a little bit complicated system because I want to make things that support even a complex MMORPG system. We have jobs. Jobs can define constraints and skill trees. So we can have a skill tree for life skills, cooking, cleaning, socializing. And then we have a doctor who have a skill tree in surgery or whatever. So we can have different classes that have different skill trees and they can cross together. So advanced classes or advanced jobs can have all the skill trees of the previous job. Most of this is data related and it's not fleshed out. In the Castle 2 we have a skill tree. In Castle 2 we have 5 categories of skill tree. And these 4 are alien skills. And I didn't add except 3 of them. I didn't implement except 3 of them. And it have the human skill tree, which required to build a research quarter before you can access them. So we can cheat and make access to all resources. Let's fill them up and let's make the building instant. So when we have the research center, we can have access to the human technology. You cannot go to higher ones because you need to upgrade the research quarter to level 2 before you can access the second page. And I already implement all of them and I need to test them slowly one by one. So we have here tier 0, tier 1, tier 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so far it take more than it seems from my calculation, it take around 2 hours to finish this skill tree alone. And the game is a slow pace, it's not a fast pace. And I'm still testing the things and I'm going to make a new test today after I finish this video. So this map you can see, Survival 1 is a map that I'm testing now. I placed resources by using the map editor, and I showed that in a video. So if we save and exit in here in the map editor, and we open the maps package. So this is a map. I actually expanded 5 cells on the left and 5 cells everywhere, and I didn't draw the trees correctly in here, so they look fucked up, but I didn't fix that. Here it's much smoother to move here, but the zoom is not that. So here I need to fix this. So yeah. I showed a lot of work, how the game file, what does it do. Hopefully it was clear. I was stuck. I wanted to make this video like the last month, and every time I was like, no, I don't have anything to show. No, I don't have I need to organize, I need to do that, blah blah blah, because I have many videos everywhere, but they are not organized. Some of them worth showing, some of them doesn't worth showing. Some of them in this folder, some of them in this folder, some of them AI related, some of them boring. A lot of them are boring. So yeah. Let's stop here. Let's not get in a tangent. Maybe next time, if I have energy, I will show you how the map editor work and some of the features that we have in here. Like these components that I reprogrammed by myself. I introduce a new behavior to the component to make it resizable. So if I close this one, it resizes things, and I can drag some of the entities to give more space for them. I didn't. It's a little bit clunky, but at least you have the option, because in Map Simulator 1 you didn't have the option to do that. So I can show some of the crap in here. How to show the menu. What did I call it? I forgot how to show the menu. It's somewhere in here. I believe this one, unit setting. Okay, it's here. So I can select entities and I can reprogram it, give it the script, and adjust the attributes in here, and give it skills, and give it equipments if it has equipment slots. For example, if we add, hopefully it won't crash, if we have a base, a copper base, 1-1, which has a name in layer 2. It doesn't have a bag. Then I selected here, because you can select multiple units. So here, the cover base, you see we can give it equipment slots in here. So I can manually give it, here it will show me what it can fit in here. So give it a random name, size 0, not as an item, and there you go, it have an equipment slot. Here in the game, hopefully I'm still recording. If I unlock everything, that's the wrong code or wrong sheet. Only the copper I gave it slots where you can give it augmentation, like a heatsink or extra battery or repair drone or block drones. These are not programmed, but you can buy them and sell them. And buying and selling in this menu is instant. I need to fix it later on. I need to make it with timer like everything else. So yeah, this is a quick show that take forever for my work, and hopefully the next episode we will talk about the editor. I already talked about the game file. We might talk about the maps or the campaign editor, which need to be refactored. This page, I need to refactor it, and that alone will take another year. Maybe half year, but it will take a lot of time because there's a lot of work to be done. This is everything that related to the player in here. Like quests, events, cutscenes, conversations. So there is a lot of work to be done. I can show you. Didn't I show you an example for the quest system? We will save it later on. I have videos for that, but they are clunky. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.